You need to say it's spooky. It's almost spooky season, right?
Yeah, almost.
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
I would have won that game if it weren't for that meddling Jared Goff.
And that Jahmyr Gibbs, too.
Yeah.
Somebody said, okay, did you hear this one? Since he's 0 this year, somebody should have said his nickname, if he didn't already have Sonic, would have been HBO Max. It's a thinker.
I mean, I get it. It's more just like, because you have halfback, running back.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Just saying.
there's more T-shirts to sell. Clearly,
Right.
You're wearing the FTP.
No, it's not FTP.
Well, that's what
It's
they
the handstand.
Well, it was at the Packers, yeah.
Yeah, no, that'd be the double bird.
Well, that was
branch.
that too, yeah.
Outside the den, inside the barn. Motor City Pride. We've been waiting long. Mic check 1 2. Podcast booth tight. Been breaking down plays every Sunday night. From the den, we step to the barn, we roll. Analyzing film clips, how the stories told. Lions on the road.
All right, welcome One Pride to episode 4 of Outside the Den,
Inside the Barn.
I'm Jake. That's Josh. This is Lyle. That's Dad walking behind us, getting in his exercise.
Woo!
And we're here going into our final week of preseason.
Already?
Already.
Hey, that's nuts, isn't
More
it?
like about time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so before we get into any segments, fellas, how we doing today?
Well, I can tell you right now, this did not work.
Yep, so, see last episode, but let's just say Staley the Bear is going all the way over there. Bars. But yeah, so, Lyle, how you doing, man?
Yeah, great. Just rushing to get here. Got here. Get a chance to talk about final week in tomorrow's joint practice.
Yeah, so, but before we get into what's coming ahead, let's talk about what just happened. So this past week, the Lions held joint practices, last week they held joint practices with the Miami Dolphins. Saw some dominance from our Detroit Lions against the Miami first string, as well as some of their second string. Flag on the play, redo of down,
Which there was a ton of flags in that game.
There was a ton of flags.
And I think we have a little precursor, or whatever you want to call it, coming with the refs here.
Oh, yeah. If he remembers wanting to talk about
Oh, he's been talking about it for a couple of weeks. So
yeah, true.
Now I've got a response, a rebuttal. Well, not even a rebuttal, more of a kind of a tag along.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, so Detroit Lions at Miami Dolphins. Score ends 24-17. Kind of cool. We have somebody here who actually went to the game, first home game of the year, as well as two guys who either had to watch it on TV or had to watch it after the game because they were busy this weekend. So
Celebrating our sister's birthday.
Exactly, yep, through a pretty successful surprise party. Once again, big ups Lyle, Lori, the rest of the Warren household for hosting. Shout out Josh, dressing up in costume as well. And then also, shout out me. Why not? But no, shout out Tori. Happy birthday, Tori.
Happy 30th.
Happy 30th. But, Josh, tell me, how was Ford Field? Was it rocking on Saturday? Or?
Well, it took a while for people to get in their seats. It wasn't, I don't think, as packed as last year's first preseason game. People did show up, just not in the numbers that I expected. For a first time, and I can't tell you how long, we actually got in the gates 20 minutes after they open. We're usually 20 minutes or 30 minutes at least in line before they open.
If not, we're near the front of the line.
Yeah.
We get there so early, yeah.
I mean, we did walk right up because people went in, we got their the pom-pom, the brewery pom-pom, and, of course, we go through our typical ritual of going to the shop. The shop. The bathroom, and get the programs and stuff like that. But the one thing that I did not see this year is the tradition that you and I have of getting Big Boy. I didn't see Big Boy anywhere in the stadium. As a matter of fact, I think they took the statue down, unless I missed it. Which hey, we're the new Lions. We got to do new things. So
exactly.
But,
Get rid of bad mojo, and maybe the Honolulu Blue Big Boy. As much as we enjoy seeing it, as much as Dad always wants to get a picture with it, maybe it's bad mojo, Got to mix it up.
Very could be. Yeah.
Got to shift it up.
Yeah. So I had a slab of Little Caesars, which is, it was in the cheese, but it was pepperoni, which does not agree with me. So,
Yep.
but
Getting old, Josh. You just
yeah,
handle the
yeah.
grease. Yeah.
But other than that, it was pretty decent showing. Crowd was loud when it needed to be, although people still got to learn on offense. We're quiet. Keep it down.
Yeah.
Defense is when you get loud. So if you're getting loud on offense, you don't know the game, and we're experts here, like we've said.
Yep. Well, here's the thing. I'll explain in the best way I can because there's an old iconic fake Pure Michigan video about Lions fans, right?
Yes.
Of wearing the paper bags, being ashamed. I think it came out right after the that 0-16 season. But there's been a lot of new Lions fans, right, with their success. People like to attach themselves to a bandwagon, and then there's people like us who have suffered through a lot of heartbreak and hardship over the years. But the biggest thing about that, and this can be your short right here, the reason why you are quiet on offense is that, especially when you're at home, the quarterback has to say the play to the entire offense, the offensive line, all the skill position players as well. They want to make sure that they can tell the play out loud, clearly. Everyone knows their assignment. The biggest thing with that is no matter how much you want to cheer, we can all cheer after the play starts, after the touchdown is scored, right? But you want to be quiet when you can so that the offense can do their stuff. There's a reason why the thing flashes on the scoreboard, get loud when you're on defense, right? On the opposite end, when our team, the Lions, are on defense, you want to interfere. You want to get loud. You want to get rambunctious, specifically to mess with the other team. And Ford Field, being in a dome and the high energy it's had, is now one of the toughest places to play because they pack the house, because everybody gets loud. And, that is your PSA. Be quiet when our team is on offense. Scream your hearts out. Lose your voice like Josh does when you're on defense.
Yeah. And case in point, back in the day when we had the Monday Night Football against Chicago, Javid Best,
Yep.
I think it was 9 false starts
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah, some ridiculous
That was
amount.
because of the crowd, and that was on
9
defense.
false starts and at least 2 forced timeouts.
Yeah, that was because we were on defense. The crowd got loud. I'm yelling louder than I've ever loud. Don't let the quarterback hear the play. Even they got the little mic in their helmet. They got to relay it, like you said, to the players. If they can't hear it, if they can't relay it, they're discombobulated. Guess what? Timeout. We have to regroup.
Yep. And before the play, if you ever see a quarterback put their heads over the helmet, there's little ear holes in there. That's where the mics are. If they ever do that, that's a good thing. That means you get louder.
That's right.
So,
And if you're not sure what offense or defense is, just pay attention to the scoreboards. The scoreboards will tell you.
Yeah,
Okay, quiet down, offense at work, get loud, defense.
exactly. Yep.
Come on.
You see that decibel meter?
Yeah,
Scream
go for
louder.
it.
Clap, whatever you want to do.
And for the love of God, when coach is calling a play, don't do the wave.
Yeah.
He gets distracted easily.
Goes on 4th down when maybe he doesn't have to. Thankfully,
Sewell delivered.
Sewell did deliver. All right, yeah. So Ford Field was loud. No more big boy. Or Ford Field was loud despite the lower attendance. Any comments on the game from your perspective before we get into Lyle, who rewatched the game earlier this week?
Like we were talking earlier in the previous one, Hooker needed to deliver. I thought he had a chance at the end. I think what they did is they kept calling the same play or something because clearly got interception, and the guy, he knew where the ball was going. Allen looked good. And Sailors, once again, did a good. Meeks, Horton, whose family was over by us. It was great to see them,
that's
cheer
cool.
when when he got his receptions and stuff like that. So I think you can see those players that are either on the bubble or trying to determine what to do. They're delivering, and when they have that home crowd. Before, because we've only seen, really one away game. You can't really count the Hall of Fame game, but you see how they perform with a home crowd. Because last year, our only losses were at home. Everything else was away. So it's almost like it's the opposite of what we need to do this year is we need to see what they're going to do when they're at home. So
proven road warriors, but can they defend the den?
That was, and then so we have a lot of good scoreboard stuff that was going on. Got some clips that maybe we'll show you throughout this. Calvin wasn't able to go, and he always has me make sure you film this, film that, and he's like, I hope they stick with those scoreboard graphics.
Yeah.
A little bit of an X factor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anything that could really hype up, and that's something I'm really looking forward to. Our home opener against the Bears is just what is the pregame hype video going to be this year? Because I feel like the last couple of years, their playoff ones, especially at home, have been extra exciting. But yeah, Lyle, so you watched it. So obviously you watched it from your section in the lower bowl, Josh. You get to see up close and personal a lot of cool stuff, but you don't get that aerial view where you don't get that overarching view, right? So you might miss out on some stuff.
Yep.
Lyle, you rewatched the game the other day. Anything you noticed in particular you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, first off, it was a rough watch. I think it's a preseason game. It's a preseason game. I think, like we mentioned early on here, the flags were flying everywhere.
Yeah.
I think they even picked up about a half a dozen flags, and there was still about 25, 30 penalties that were called in the game. So it was a rough watch from that standpoint. The offense for the Lions got off to a little bit of a slow start. Kyle Allen was starting. He had a few throws early on that were just a little bit off.
A bit high.
Just a little bit high. A couple of catches that could have been made but weren't quite, so they kind of stalled a little bit. Then he hit his stride, led them down the field a few times, got a couple of touchdowns in, looked really good. And then you come back out of halftime and you're Hendon Hooker, and again, it just kind of seems to bog down again. And I don't even think it's all Hendon Hooker. I think he's a little bit of a victim of the circumstances here, penalties that happen.
Yeah, they called back that touchdown that he ran in.
Yeah, running plays that don't seem to work and only gain a yard. A couple of drops again on his side of things from the receivers, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that I think when he's running the offense, it just there's no confidence there. I don't feel like they ever get into a groove. I don't feel like he's somebody that's leading them on a sustained drive very often. The one drive that he had, basically, the 2-minute drill near the end of the game when he finally got the chance to kind of grip it and rip it, and he looked pretty good there until, of course, that interception on the one-step throw. And, again, usually the defensive end's not going to make a play like that. And he made a play on it. It is what it is. But the fact of the matter is, when I'm looking at it, it's clear that if they had to bring in somebody, if something were to happen to Goff or something like that, it's a Kyle Allen show at this point.
Yeah. And you got Campbell even pretty much saying the same thing. He trusts Kyle Allen. So.
And the other thing that I noticed on defense, defensive backs were knocking down balls right and left.
Mm-hmm.
I think they said they had 10 pass breakups on the game.
In Miami, they really didn't have many runs. A lot of passing from Miami.
Yeah, been stopping the run consistently, I think, through 3 preseason games. Mm-hmm. So they go into that pass, and I noticed some sticky defense there. And Eric Hallett made some plays there. Nick Whiteside. These are all players that you're not expecting to play in a game or anything, but if they're a depth piece, something that can, we've experienced over the last year here, somebody that, if they're going to be on the roster, they're probably going to play at some point. So so encouraging to see that. Again, the outcome of the game, 24-17 Dolphins, really doesn't matter. It was 14-7 Lions at half. I think, did we get the 17-7, and then they got the couple of touchdowns at that point. It is the end of the game. I was encouraged by what I saw on the defense, on the offense. The most discouraging thing was, Hendon Hooker still seems to be kind of in that funk where.
Well, I think you touched on it last episode too, where you basically said one read in either tucks or whatever. Yeah. So defense is cheating at that point. They know he's not going to go through his progression. They know they're not going to, he's not going to throw deep, and in this case.
Yeah, he's not going to have the patience for it, right? He's going to 1, 2, 3, and then his head's going to go down, and he's thinking run.
Yeah, and I mean, that was, a huge criticism of him coming out of Tennessee was he played in a really orchestrated offense, and that was the read progression, was he had 1, 2, tuck it and run. Mm-hmm. Now, they had a group of, I believe, Tennessee, I'm trying to think of some names here that I'm blanking on. They had a group of like 3 receivers that all win in the first 3 or 4 rounds of the NFL draft. That same year, Hendon Hooker came out. So it was just the offense that worked. It's kind of the same thing of when you looked at Oregon back in the day before the spread kind of became more common, is that they were running the spread and only the spread, and that was a huge criticism of, quarterbacks coming in like Marcus Mariota, or honestly any Armed Forces University team where they run the triple option, where that won't work in the NFL. It maybe could, but probably won't.
Go back to the run and shoot. Andre Ware, everybody, okay, you can come into the NFL and do that because the Lions were running the run and shoot at that point. Yeah, NFL's a different animal than college on those kinds of things.
It absolutely is. There's the old idiom, right, or the discussion point of, can the best college football team ever beat the worst NFL team of all time? And obviously, let's talk more of the modern era, because I'm pretty sure that the best college football team could beat
the 0-16 season. I think you heard a lot of people saying that.
Yeah, but you'll talk to every NFL player, every NFL analyst, and the answer is no from them, because once again, even though teams like those late 2000s Alabama teams that had 30 NFL prospects on them, I mean, you're still going against adults. You're still going against the best of the best.
Age has a huge impact, and people just do not realize that.
And just an understanding of what it takes for football. I mean, their knowledge is just going to be so much more developed at that level, at the NFL level.
Yeah, but moral of the story, preseason doesn't matter, because Dan Campbell was trying to win the game. Obviously, keeping Kyle Allen in would have helped them win the game. But at the end of the day, it was the third game, penultimate game of assessing this talent. More cuts will be being made, and that final 53-man roster cut is happening shortly after this weekend. So I trust Brad Holmes. I trust Dan Campbell to put together the best possible team we can have. And it looks like we have guys like Jackson Meeks who maybe are making a pretty dang strong claim to that, which, speaking of which, but Jackson Meeks is Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, that was the one that I heard that the other day. I'm like, I got to make note of that because we were talking about it.
We were just talking about it.
That was the one.
But yeah, I think, once again, we're seeing some great stuff out of our depth receivers, depth defensive backs. Not seeing a crazy good pass rush, but once again, the pass rush pieces we have, we're not going to see in the draft. Obviously, our
preseason,
our favorite, until the regular season. Obviously, our favorite Egyptian drafted.
Hence, for a while. Staley the Bear getting chucked across the barn here.
Screw you, Staley, whatever. I don't even care what your name is. You're on the other side of the barn now. All right. But yeah, so going into this week, the final week of preseason, we have some joint practices coming up. Lyle, if you want to introduce that.
Yeah, just in this case, it's just going to be the one practice. We had 2 practices against the Dolphins last week. Again, Wednesday's practice being a fantastic showing by the Lions by all accounts, and I think we talked about that last time. Thursday's was a little more even, but I think people were still very excited about the way that the Lions performed in that one as well. It just kind of cemented the fact that, okay, it's not – one day one team is better than the other day the other team is better. I think they would say both days the Lions were pretty much the superior team there. This week, just the one game, the one practice against the Houston Texans before they have their game on Saturday. That practice is happening tomorrow, and just a really good opportunity, I think, especially for the Lions offense to go up against that Texans defense. I think the Texans defense has some premier players on it.
Yep.
Pass rushers on each side. They've got Will Anderson on the one side, Grenard on the other side, I believe, right?
That's a crazy duo right there.
And then you go into the secondary, and they've got pieces in the secondary. Stingley, a third-year cornerback that's just taking off at this point.
Yeah, it's top echelon defensive back for sure. They got maybe the fastest linebacking core too. What's the one dude that killed Trevor Lawrence? Not actually killed him, but hurt him bad.
I know they have Brian Cushing. Is it Cushing?
No, well, Cushing hasn't been on the team in a long time.
Is it? Wow, man, that's me going in.
That's your old. That's
mode,
your old age. But no, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, Aziz Al-Shaair.
Yeah.
So go back to it. So yeah, and I think you're right. I think the offense going against a pretty vicious defense. The Texans, like the Lions last year, really racked with injuries. They were kind of scraping the barrel themselves, especially on offense. Texans have, I think, a pretty talented quarterback in C.J. Stroud out of the Ohio State University, as well as one of the most dangerous young receiving cores in football. One of their top guys, Tank Dell, though. Nico Collins is a monster, right?
Beast.
Our argument to be a top 5 receiver, because this is probably one of the best receiving groups, or just in general in the NFL league of receivers we maybe have ever seen. But Nico Collins is up there. Tank Dell is a monster, but he had that horrible knee injury against the Chiefs last year. When we were visiting our sister Stephanie in Chicago, or while me, our dad, my mom were visiting Stephanie, we were actually watching the game the day before the Bears game when we were just hanging out in the apartment. Saw that really horrific knee injury. So I can't imagine he's going to be in the practice, because they want to get him recovered. Especially because I think he's going into a contract year this upcoming year too, so that's pretty rough for him. But yeah, no, I think the offense against a pretty vicious defense, as well as those defensive backs. We essentially have a new defensive back room. I think Terrion Arnold's back as well now in practice fully.
One thing I saw, and I was surprised by this in your clips there, Terrion was dressed for the game, the Dolphins game.
That was just for pregame.
Yeah, he didn't play at all.
He didn't play,
I was surprised that I even saw him in uniform.
Yeah, well, last season, Goff was dressed, I think, for the fourth preseason game, or at least the last home one. And I'm like, there's no way he's playing. And I just think it's just because they want to get through their warm-ups, make sure everything's, because there's other facets of the game that's happening that the fans don't see. It's basically they got to go through everything, make sure everybody's doing the right stuff. They might go through the pregame warm-ups and like the offense, defense, whatever. They might do that. There's drills. At one point, Janine looks down and goes, "Is that Terrion Arnold just sitting there?" And I'm like, "Nah, that can't be him. There's no way." And I'm like, "He's got cleats on. Maybe it is him." When they have their helmets on and their numbers on, it's easy to see him. If you follow him on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, then you might recognize him. But he was just sitting there, and I thought, well, he's standing sitting next to a camera guy, so maybe he's just this grip. But nope.
Nope, he's getting that pregame work in. Yeah. Yeah. I think. I'm really excited to see what comes out of this joint practice tomorrow. I would argue that the Texans are a pretty solid team, especially when healthy. I mean, they play in the AFC South, which is probably the second worst division in football behind the NFC South, maybe. But there's an argument there because some of those teams are pretty bad. But, I mean, the Texans have a lot of talent, and it'll be a really interesting, I think, a better show of what the Lions can really do, at least going into that 4th week of preseason. And one other thing to note I saw before coming over here, once again, my Breaking Brad section, throw it down on the screen. Maurice Norris back in practice with pads and a helmet, not making any contact. He was working individually with a trainer, but he was running around doing stuff, so clearly no serious spinal injury or something preventing him from being on the field. Obviously, he's not going to have any kind of contact, probably not for a while. Yeah. That's how the Dolphins are risking losing their franchise quarterback by throwing him out there before they should have, before Tua is ready. But yeah, so that's once again, pretty great news, because I think we were all worried in that Falcons game throwing back a couple weeks ago, and just what was it going to look like for Maurice Norris. Yep. And I'm sure that's really helping the players see him come back on the field, come back in his number 26 jersey, and just warming up with them when they can, but obviously trying to take it easy getting back into practice. But
yeah, I think that obviously just to do that, he must have cleared at least some level of protocol to be able to do that. So
I think they go through different stages of it.
Right.
So he's definitely on the next level stage, whatever.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Yeah, you don't bring out the stretcher, you don't bring out the ambulance, and rush a guy back to practice. They definitely
unless you're the Dolphins.
Unless you're the Dolphins. I don't know if an ambulance ever came out for Tua. I'd have to look back at that.
I don't think. I was just being a dickhead.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's getting bleeped.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Roarhead.
But yeah, so as we go into this final Houston Texans prediction, I think how do you think the game's going to go? Obviously, I feel like I have a really good feeling we're going to see some of our better rookies in for maybe a single series to give them a couple bit of reps, but it's going to depend on how they're doing against, I think, how much reps they get tomorrow. But personally, I don't expect too much. I wouldn't be shocked to see even Tesla get maybe one series, because I think Tesla's kind of established himself as a starting, one of the 5 wide receivers on that roster. And then I think Meeks is really making a claim for us. I'm expecting to see a ton of Jackson Meeks and a ton of balls thrown his way. I mean, he had 9 catches this past week. Yeah. I expect to see him a lot more. But do you guys have any predictions of the game, whether it's a score, whether it's, a touchdown, or any type of – are we going to see Hendon Hooker actually throw for 300 yards in the second half,
I don't think he'll throw for 300 yards. I do think he'll get at least a touchdown. On the ground or in the air, one or the other. It's not going to be last season's, tale of two halves. It's going to be, I don't know. I think it's, again, like you said, it's preseason. It's hard to predict, but it'd be a close game. I don't think there's going to be anything to worry about. I would like to see Craig get a little bit more yards. I don't know if it's the holes or what it is. But if you saw in the last game, he was bouncing out to the outside and getting some good yardage at that point. So
unfortunately, throwing flags on those plays usually.
Yeah, another foreshadowing of what's to come in the one of the upcoming segments.
Yeah, of course. Lyle, how about you?
Yeah, last games of the preseason, it's tough to tell. I almost have a feeling like it's going to be a situation where, if Kyle Allen plays at all, it's going to be brief. I think you are going to see a lot of Hendon Hooker in this game. I think, based on what I've seen so far, I don't know, how the offense is going to run through him. So I do see it being a game. I remember 3 years ago when they had they were trying to figure out who was going to play between David Blau and Tim Boyle on quarterback, and they played the Steelers, and the game was just mush and just I feel like it's going to be like that. Of course, after that game, I think they ended up cutting both of them and picking up Nate Sudfeld after that, right?
Yeah, they did.
Who just signed with the 49ers.
Did
today.
he? Oh,
today.
He was there once upon a time.
Yeah.
Goes back.
2021.
But, yeah, I mean, just in terms of the game and how it goes, I think everybody's just looking to, okay, let's just get through this game, try not to get injured. Anybody else more injured here? Staley the Bear, stay over there. Yep. Oh, look at me dropping bars.
Yeah, I think he flipped over.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
And just everybody's moving on. I think the joint practice is the big thing. They want to get that last test in there, get through the preseason game, and, start to get ready for Green Bay.
Lions on the rise, not the same old crew. Golf sling and passes, what we always knew. Sewell on the line, Hutchinson with force. Campbell's got the plan, staying on. Outside the den, inside the barn. This is our time, this is our turn.
All right, so we get into kind of this segment I would like to talk about. So the cuts are going to happen really shortly after this preseason game. So I did not prepare you guys with this because I thought about it as I was walking up here. So I may be putting you on the spot. And if you do, you do falter a little bit, don't worry. You can kind of, we'll skip to it. But yeah, so I'm thinking.
Whoa. We got a caller.
We got a caller.
We got a caller.
Caller line 1. What's your name?
Caller line 1. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you're calling for? Oh, hold on. There we go.
Brad, I heard, but
what's that?
Breaking Bad. I heard. Brad, I heard.
Breaking Brad. Yeah. So it's Breaking Brad is on the phone with us right now, and he's going to tell us something that we've already heard.
Most likely, right?
Most likely.
Well, I'll tell you this. You may not have heard this one.
Okay.
It's not news really, but something I didn't know. But I watched a special with John Gruden.
Yeah.
And he went through the entire NFC North. It was a 2-hour video on YouTube, and I just didn't realize how much change the Vikings had made this year.
Yeah.
With their offensive line, defensive line, their secondaries, pretty much Harrison Smith is the only one left, and Jeff Okudah is going to be one of those guys, the starting guys.
Gotta laugh at that.
Yeah. So I they might not be as good this year. I mean, teams last year and McCarthy took over. I mean, Sam Darnold did playing. So I think McCarthy might be able to do it. But man, with all those guys gone, that's going to be tough.
Well, it's good for the Lions if that's the case, for sure.
Yeah, one of the things I think that it was funny because everybody's always talking about the Lions and the changes that they had on the offensive line. And then it was highlighted, like Brad saying, the Vikings, they changed basically 3 or 4 of their positions on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. The Packers have a couple of changes that are happening there. And we know the Bears are obviously cycling through offensive linemen, trying to get the right combination that they haven't had in decades, you know. So I think that that's a good point to say, yeah, everybody wants to say, Frank Ragnow retired and Kevin Zeitler is gone, and those are big losses. But let's not act like the Lions are the only team that has an offensive line that's a little bit in flux right now.
And obviously we have the Michigan mullet, man.
That's true.
I mean,
look at that. Yeah. What somebody described it as a Kentucky waterfall back there.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think once again Ratledge looked really good. I mean, I saw him win a couple solo reps solo reps against Hutchinson. Yeah. Not many times I've heard, but he's been able to do it, which, you know, last week the Dolphins couldn't at all. Yeah. So
and from what I've
heard, Hutchins got a new move, and there's another
this was definitely
breaking news that I told Josh.
There we go.
And I've seen 2 references on it now, but anyway.
You know,
well, let's talk about it, man.
To be fair with that,
tell us what
I don't know much about it.
They can't. Well,
it's just a new move.
What's it, incognito?
That's all I know. I've heard the one guy described it as sort of a spin and something else, and then
honestly,
some other guy
has
quoted
a bit of a Euro step. I'll be honest with you, it's a little bit of a Euro step into a spin. And it did get it did get Sewell. I can send you the clip later, but in Brad's defense, that clip came out weeks ago, and then hold on. And in the recent Inside the Den episode, episode 3, they talked about some of the preseason games. They showed it again.
Oh, did?
And with the whole Mike being Hutch being mic'd up because he's like, "Hua, hua."
I have to rewatch that.
And then he's like, "That's gonna get somebody." And then it got Sewell, and he's running back. He's like, "Told you." So.
I watched it. I must have been falling asleep just because of late night watching it. But
because it's preseason, you don't care about preseason, Josh.
That's right.
So,
all right, what else? What else you got there?
I mean, I just recommend you guys watch that Gruden film. He went through everything, like every personnel change, all the coaching changes, all the he went through some X and O's. Then he talked about the offense and defense. When he talked about the Lions, it was just like, oh my God, and I love the running back pair. Oh, and I love the safety.
Let me tell you about this guy. This guy is something else.
Yeah, I mean, hey, John Gruden, big fan of Dan Campbell.
Yes, he is.
He is very publicly a big fan of Dan Campbell. He also posted a video. Hillsdale College sent like a big care package to him. So we opened up a bunch of, specifically in this little video, I think it may have been like an Instagram video or maybe a YouTube short, but it was specifically him mentioning Isaac Tesla and the Lions drafting him. And Hillsdale College sent them a big whole thing. And he gave like a little history lesson on why they're the Aggies. And I guess Hillsdale College was one of the first teams called the Aggies in all of college football. I'll be honest, didn't pay too much attention to it because I was getting ready for bed when that came across my timeline. But, you know.
Well, they're the Chargers now, though, right?
Oh, are they the Chargers now?
Yeah, I thought.
Was it Chargers?
Well, I'll tell you, 7 degrees of separation, Kevin Bacon rule here. It turns out my brother-in-law, his daughter and son was coached by Tesla's dad in soccer.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I have a connection now.
There you go.
They don't know about it. I know about it. I might use it at some point.
Yeah, fair enough. There you go. Well, hey,
don't you know who I am?
Connection we forgot to use this past week was Ghost Inside playing at.
That's right, Ghost Inside. Cousin Andrew in Pine Knob. He joined us first home game
against the Rams. Yeah,
against the Rams. And we were gonna go. Things didn't quite work out, but hopefully we can get him on an episode.
Yeah. So you might want to cut out the Hillsdale College thing because he was right. They are the Chargers, and I don't know what I'm talking about.
Dude, that whole segment just got blown up.
Just a chance for me to dunk on you.
Well, keep it in because everyone should get a chance to dunk on me at some point.
Like Lyle says, warts and all.
Exactly. All right, awesome. So, Brad, you still there?
Yeah.
I forgot he was on the phone.
Yeah.
Speak up, boy.
He was just listening. He was just
Brad,
listening.
Brad, did you get a chance to watch the Dolphins game?
I didn't see the last quarter of it. I saw everything else.
Yeah, you didn't miss much, other than the 2-minute drive
Yeah.
at the end that ended in tragedy.
Hey, I don't know how you guys feel about this one, but I know Kyle Allen has totally outperformed Hooker, but just something tells me that they want Hooker as
But
their
they're
backup.
definitely giving him a lot of chances. To get back on that subject, obviously we've been rooting for him for years. Not necessarily above Goff, but as the heir apparent to Goff's position. The thing I thought he brought, that little X factor to practice, is a way for us to learn how to defend the running quarterback. Doesn't mean that he still doesn't have that shot. I mean, he could pull out the game of his life here coming up and, make a statement and say, yeah, I need to be on this roster. Unless he does, I mean, people might sign him, because there's people out there that are getting signed that you're like, really? But
I don't know. I'm predicting he stays a Lion because
Yeah.
the way Dan Campbell even talks about him in the press conferences is like, yeah, Allen played better. Hooker,
yeah.
he didn't have the, what I mean? It's like he's always kind of defending him. And if you think about it, the guy's really only in his second year. I mean, it takes a quarterback a long time. And if he develops with his size and his running ability, I have a lot more faith in that being a golf replacement than Kyle Allen on his best days. And I'm not saying he's there yet. I'm just saying I think they still look at him as a project. And just again, the way they talk about him. Plus, you guys probably read he scored he threw a touchdown against the Ones defense yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did the ones versus the twos and kind of switch it up back and forth. And yeah, he led a drive down there when the first team offense didn't score against the second team defense. And again, those are just one situation kind of things or something like that, but I had seen that as well. So I think that, there's obviously some investment in Hooker. They drafted him in the third round. They've been trying to develop him here. So I think that any time that you do that, it is going to be hard for you to, you're going to need to know, okay, this absolutely is not going to work, and before you cut bait on something like that, because he is going to get picked up by somebody. Somebody's going to say, oh yeah, I remember him at Tennessee and what he did, and the kind of the leadership qualities that he seems to have as well was a big thing of why he got drafted where he got drafted. So I can totally see the Lions finding a way to keep him in, and whether that means they have to keep 3 quarterbacks on the 53, which is going to be tough because then you're going to leave a quality person off of that. Or if they say something along the lines of, and this has been floated out there, keep Hooker, cut Allen, sign Allen to the practice squad, and then bring him up, and he would technically be the backup quarterback when they bring him up off the practice squad, kind of a thing. I can totally see that happening, and the question is just going to be, what do the Lions think? Is there still some development there, or is it just time to, to say, yeah, it's something we tried, it didn't work out? I don't know if they're going to be ready to say that after the third year or not.
Yeah, I think they just used a lot of they just invested a lot into him, but they still have that awareness of they have a quarterback that, once again, I'm going to knock on wood here in a second, just doesn't play in a style that injuries are super common, especially behind a pretty good offensive line, right?
Yep.
And I think, Jared Goff is still young enough. I mean, he's, once again, I'm not super young, but like he's not even a full year older than me, which makes me feel bad. I'll never be that successful. But it's still the quarterback is young enough, he's healthy enough relatively, and then your backup is a guy with little NFL to almost no NFL experience. And, there is an argument, I think I brought it up in a previous episode of, I almost think it would make more sense for the Lions to go and sign like a Carson Wentz, or even try and sign a Joe Flacco or something like that, where you get an established veteran who's won big games, who has played in big games, who has, both of them have had near MVP years in the past. I know Carson Wentz did. He was on track for an MVP year until he got hurt that year they won the Super Bowls when, Nick Foles, former MSU quarterback,
BDN.
so for like a year, but still, I think the biggest thing with it is that they invested a lot in Hooker. They want to see it through, but I think the window is starting to close on him specifically. And I know that Kyle Allen is not the long-term. If they decide to go Kyle Allen, I think that they know, and I think Kyle Allen knows he is not the long-term answer at backup. So it'll be interesting to see if they do try and sign a free agent down the road. Do they try and draft another quarterback here in a season or two? But we'll have to see when that time comes.
Well, I tell you what, one thing in just this conversation, I had, I don't know, PTSD, flashbacks, whatever. At one point, everybody's favorite player on the Lions roster was the backup quarterback. I even had a jersey made that says backup QB on it.
There's a guy walking around here that really loved the backup quarterback, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Kyle Moore. Or not Kyle Moore.
Kellen Moore.
Kellen
Kellen
Moore.
Moore,
Yeah.
I was always a big Drew Stanton fan.
And then we got the Jared Goff's chance are not leaving. What do you think, Brad?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so, man. And I hope he proves that on September 7th too.
I hope the mic can pick up on that. But Brad, just so you know, Dad is working out while we're sitting here recording, and
he's got the Jared Goff chance going.
He's chanting while walking around. So he's in the
gotcha.
spirit. Dad's
Keeping him
putting in the work
beat.
though. Yeah.
Yep.
So. But yeah.
But that's what I was saying, though, Jake. You kind of gave Lyle gave two options as far as the practice squad or three quarterbacks. You had the other option of, hey, you know what? We're not sure Kyle's the answer either. We could do something like we did last year with Teddy Bridgewater and then keep Hooker on just
before, yeah.
Yeah. And then we can keep developing this guy. And who knows? And really, you look at him as an asset because he in the situation with Goff's age and his age, because he's a pretty old 3-year player, by the way. You guys know that. He's only like 2 years. Yeah, he's like 2-3 years younger than Goff is all.
Right.
So their ages don't really match up. So, he may never be the quarterback for the Lions, but he might be a good backup. And then maybe he becomes, hey, you know what? Some team wants to trade for him. And they get a big, bunch of draft picks or something for a quarterback that are
nice.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, you might get in a situation where they get them, a third and a fourth or something because the team's so desperate for a quarterback, and there's rumblings of him being a really, really good player behind Goff.
Yeah,
maybe even steps in for Goff for a game or something because Goff's hurt. You see what I'm saying? Like Like you said, I don't think they're done investing in this guy. I'd be surprised if they cut him.
Yeah, I even remember at the time that he was drafted that there was a thought, okay, if he does develop behind Goff, but Goff is not ready to leave or something, you got the Jimmy Garoppolo route, right, where the Patriots were able to swing that and get something of value out of their backup quarterback at that point.
And to kind of flash back real quick to the previous game being there, one of the things, for preseason, obviously not exciting play, whatever. So I was paying a little bit more attention to the sideline than I have in the past. And like I mentioned, Terry and Arnold sitting in the end zone, kind of watching the game. But one of the things I noticed is when we were on offense, Goff would move down the field, down the sideline there, and he would watch passing lanes and stuff like that, look at the route tree and stuff like that. So
I think you just hit the fan.
Yeah. What hit the fan?
Something just hit the fan.
I think
yeah. The stick hit the fan?
Yeah. Man, I hate it when stick hits the fan.
Anyways, and I'm sure, it's not something he invented, but it was, for me as a fan to kind of pay a little bit more attention to the sideline and see Goff, looking at it from the QB's perspective that's on the field. He's gaining that knowledge, so he might not be playing in the game, but he's, and I guess the best virtual, way you can do it. So
yeah,
that was kind of cool to see. That
that was another thing about Gruden is, he's like, Goff, hands down the best quarterback in this division. You get sick of hearing, oh no, it's Jordan Love. He's so much better than Goff.
I was gonna say, why don't you tell that to Green Bay fans because apparently they don't know.
And listen, I think he didn't make a prediction, but he did say that he thought that, almost rooting for Green Bay to win, and he still thinks Goff. And he's like, Goff, he's a coach's dream. He's like, he can change the line of scrimmage. He sees it. He knows what play to get him in every single time. And it's like, so that dude's got a lot of respect for golf.
Yeah, well, to this day, I still feel sorry for Chris Sims. I don't know if you ever saw that. Welcome to the NFL rookie, or welcome to the whatever that was.
Yeah.
When he was just like, no, it's blah, 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 and then Sims was like, tell me again. And Gruden was all over him. Like, come on, man. I'm speaking English here. What are you speaking? So, to this day. And so if Gruden is looking at golf that way, I mean, that's a pretty good honor, I suppose.
Yeah.
There wasn't much negative he said about the Lions. His only concern was the offensive line. And then that's the other thing. As far as the coordinator is concerned, he wasn't concerned at all. He goes, I know John Morton. He worked with me, and this guy is going to be great. And, kind of saying, too, how it's the same offense anyway. And then how Shepard was a good player, and he's got a lot of faith in him. And so he's like, he really gave our coordinators really high praise, too. So, and then, it's made a big deal about, because I didn't go through every coach or anything that left Detroit. He kind of went through some of that, and it's like, wow, they still have all these great coaches from before. So it's not like they lost a ton of coaches. People make it look like when Ben Johnson left, he took the whole offensive coaching staff, and when Aaron Glenn left, he did the same with the defense, and that wasn't the case really.
No.
So they took some guys, but
Well, just
anyway,
our family's perspective of it, if there was one guy that we wanted to, take over the reins from AG was Shap.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, they were grooming him the whole
yeah.
way because they knew it was going to happen.
And he was calling plays, defensive plays in the last, I don't know. Anytime you saw AG, like, covered in rain and his glasses and all that, Shep was doing the job. So those were, good times to get him the opportunity to show what he can do, and, clearly he won the job. So
Yeah, and I think I don't think it's a controversial take to say there's going to be growing pains. I mean, we've seen it in preseason, and once again, I think we saw it league-wide last year for those first couple games, because adding those preseason games or extending the season, teams don't play their guys in preseason. I know our dad over there would love to see our starters in the preseason, but teams don't want to risk injuries if they don't have to.
But what they're doing is this is where they're bringing in those joint practices, so they can be controlled to prevent those injuries. So they're getting those reps, those preseason reps. And I think right now we're kind of probably in that transition phase where that little stumble at the beginning of the season is going to eventually fade away for everybody, because they're getting those preseason reps, and they're going to
it's a process.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something new. Eventually we'll have 18 games in the season, and we'll be taking off, Super Bowl Monday because it'll be President's Day. So,
Right.
Montgomery running through the defensive wall. St. Brown catching every single call. Playoff bound now, divisional crown. Been covering his team all around the town. Ford Field rocking crowd on their feet. Podcast popping kids.
All right. Well, Brad, while we have you on the line, because I know you probably can't stay all night, I do want to introduce a little segment I would like to do going into our last week of preseason. Is there any? I want to go down the line, and we'll start with you, Brad. The Lions have a lot of players on the roster currently, right? They haven't made any significant cuts yet, but they're going to have to cut down to the 53-man. Do you have a singular player being cut that you think would either be surprising, interesting, maybe might take us kind of take a step back? And why do you think that player is going to get cut, if you had to guess?
Yeah, I mean, there's only one name that comes to mind, and I hope he doesn't get cut, and I don't think he will get cut, but the only guy that comes to mind is Patrick, because all those other receivers have just come up big, and so
well, they showed a clip of him in practice, a pretty good touchdown catch there. So
yeah, that's what I mean. I still think he's your third wide receiver. I'm just thinking, hey, if Tesla works out and these other guys behind him like Meeks and Lovett, and you still have Khalif Raymond, not to mention everybody's healthy with as far as Williams and St. Brown, you might save some money by cutting Patrick. But I'd just rather have the guy. But I do think they might carry 6 wide receivers, though.
I saw 7.
It's hard to cut some of those guys.
I saw 7 today as a strong list.
Yeah,
maybe 7. I mean, that's just kind of crazy. But they do help on special teams.
Yes.
And Dave Fipp was saying that the other day that the wide receiver room is contributed more than ever in special
Yeah,
teams.
which is another thing against him, Patrick, because he does not play on special teams. And he's got that injury history. He's had, 2 or 3 season-ending injuries prior to coming to the Lions. So despite the fact he's had some really good years where, he's had a claim to be he's a solidified talent, at least as a wide receiver too. You have younger guys, cheaper contracts. I agree, Brad. Stole one of mine. I still have a couple in the tank. But, yeah, Josh, do you have a cut that's you think might happen, might surprise, could be disappointing?
I honestly haven't even thought in that direction. I've been thinking more who's going to make it.
Yeah.
How
about this? How about somebody you think's going to make it that we think that would get cut? How about that? We can shift it up for you.
Yeah, that one. Oh God, that's a tough one. I mean, going just to the wide receivers. I mean, Meeks and I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, to kind of, I think, help you say exactly what you're thinking is the biggest thing too is whoever we don't keep, right? There's no guarantee they'll end up on the practice squad because
there's a lot of people saying that you cut them, they're gone.
Well, Meeks, I think alone, even the Dolphins who saw it firsthand, 9 catches, almost 100 yards, I think they would look at him and be like, well,
yeah,
Jalen Waddle got hurt last year. Tyreek doesn't want to be here. Maybe we do go pick up this guy for super cheap, and maybe he can be a wide receiver 3 and maybe step it up if need be. So.
And imagine a world where the Lions have guys that don't make don't make it past the waivers.
Yeah, I mean,
what world are we living in?
It's crazy.
Did I get hit in the head and I just?
I know players aren't making it through the waiver wire. Coaches are being
poached,
sniped from us. Yeah, poached.
What the heck?
How about you, Lyle?
Cats and dogs
living together and mass hysteria.
Exactly.
Bite kneecaps.
So I'll go with one here, and I don't really expect it to happen. I think he's pretty solidly on the roster, but because if they were to go and try to keep some of these wide receivers, and now suddenly we've got an overloaded receiver room or something like that, what about Shane Zylstra? Okay. What about hey, we don't need this pass-catching tight end here. We've got so many receivers everywhere, that kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. We're going to go ahead and we're going to keep, obviously, Laporta. We're going to keep Brock Wright.
Brock who?
Brock Wright.
I should bring up that clip when I did that.
And then, okay, we've got this rookie, Zach Horton, that can play tight end, but he can also do some fullbacking for an H-back for us or something like that. What if they just decide, okay, the numbers just don't work out? Shane O'Mac, that's been hanging around on this roster for 3-4 years and has really had, the Panthers game, he had like 3 touchdowns and things like he's had his moments there. Yeah. What if they just decide, you know what, we just don't have a role for you. We're going to go ahead and keep some of these younger guys, and we're gonna cut that roster spot.
He could be this year's Zach Zenner.
He might be, but here's the thing too.
Do they not like the Z players? Is that what it
maybe
is?
that's what it is. Yeah.
But
Zedarius, Zylstra.
Well, between what was
Zedarius is in Hawaii, so he's not going to hear
chilling.
this.
He's chilling. But before he got hurt, Yebada, right? That guy who's the tight end.
Kenny Yeboah.
Yeah, Yeboah. Thank you. He was stealing reps from Zylstra, so that's not a bad prediction because I think Brock Wright, just a really great blocker. He's made some really big plays. I always say Brock Wright's your 5th option in offense. That's a pretty good thing. When he's your 5th option in offense, he wins you the game. So, I do like the one you said, Brad, as well. And I do think it's really interesting to see what the back end of our receiver room is going to look like because we do have some guys with some pretty big upside who are contributing on special teams. I think that's one of the big things I always tell Dad is the hardest thing with Kennedy is he can return kicks, but I think they'd still rather have Khalif or Khalil Dorsey do it, who just have a little bit more breakaway speed. Apparently, they want their linebacker Grant Stewart to do it.
Well, that was for preseason, I think.
Yeah, so I have a pick that honestly I was hoping to do a little more controversial pick like Tim Patrick, like Brad did, but I do have a third guy, and we've been talking about how much the Lions have invested into Hendon Hooker and why that alone might keep him on the team. I think a guy who's played really poorly despite also being a project that I think the Lions are just kind of bolstering that position. I think Broderick Martin gets cut from the team. Yeah, they spent a 3rd round pick on the guy He was a project out of Western Kentucky, but they signed Roy Lopez Jr. You got Miles Adams who can pass rush there. You draft Tyleek Williams. Aleem McNeil can come back off injury, and obviously DJ Reader's on the team too.
Makai Wingo just came back as well.
Makai Wingo, who I think was a steal last year, so I'm still excited to see what he could do when he's fully healthy. So I think just Broderick Martin, as much as I'd love a 6'5", 6'6", 300, almost 40-pound guy just plugging up holes, I just think that he just doesn't offer enough, and I think the Lions have better.
They were giving him a lot of reps though the last game.
I think they're.
I saw something. He is top 5 pass rushing PFF grade for interior defensive lineman in the preseason.
That's good.
Yeah.
But if I were to guess, I'm thinking he's going to get cut.
And again, it's a good problem for these coaches to have to make these kind of. I mean, if it's obvious they're off the team, that's not a problem for them. But for them to seriously sit there and go, how can we keep all these guys?
Yeah. I mean, you saw it in Hard Knocks alone they were trying to cut Craig Reynolds, and
I don't think they were trying to cut him. I think they were just that was one of those moments that was captured.
Just make the case.
Yeah.
And case was made.
Yeah.
The way they proposed is they were really contemplating.
I think that was drama. I honestly do. Because hey,
pick their moment.
Come on, Craig. Good job, Craig.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's a culture guy.
Every Lions draft pick is not the exact guy that they were targeting the entire time. Is that what you're trying to say? It's editing.
Hey, I can tell you what, this episode is going to be cut down at some point, and right now we're on 1:06 right now. I'm probably going to end up about 1:05.
A good 10 minutes of that was Leroy coming in. So.
Inside the barn, this is our town, this is our turn. No more losses, no more pain. Detroit Lions breaking the chain. Outside the den, inside the barn. Motor City Fire.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in my dad, Steve, for classic. We missed it last week, but
yes,
Steve's crazy play of the game.
Well, here's the thing: is he's already got 2 more in the wings after this one.
Wow,
that's true.
So
he's already got them canned up.
That's right. I mean, ever since your buddy commented on the YouTube, I think he went home and he started taking notes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All hail Steve. Shout out Sam. He's watching. He will be watching this one. So,
hey, get with Jake. Get the number. Call in.
Yeah. There we go.
We got Brad on the line still, right?
Yeah.
He had to get back off of mute. He had a lot of activity going in the background there.
Well, as long as you're not snoring, that's good.
All right.
So, all right, are you going to stick around for Dad's crazy play of the game?
Yeah, Dad's doing that right now.
Yeah, he's walking by right now. You ready for Dad's crazy play of the game? All right.
I'll step out of here. You can take the middle spot.
Well, I'll let you sit with him, Lau.
Okay.
I'll take a break.
The only reason I'm sticking around is because I have a tag along for this. I can hear him good.
I'm huffing and puffing, right? Because I'm angry, and those NFL, the leaders of the NFL are all wimps. They worry about these celebration spikes. Don't they have more to worry about than something like that? Well, anyways, I've been watching for years, and then I watched again the last game. And the referees don't have a clue. And so I've seen so many things go against the Lions. So what I'm saying is the Lions have hired a new person. His name is Howie Houdini Kashki. And what he is, a hypnotist. So what you do is they bring the referees in, give them their steak dinner, sprinkle little sleepiness crumbles on there, and then on the screen it shows all the mistakes that they made towards the Lions. So this hypnotist...
He'll be there for decades.
Yeah. It's a long, long film.
It is a long film. But this hypnotist will get the referees to, whenever it's a Lion penalty, they can't say that. Either they say the other team or say that there was no penalty.
We're picking up the flag.
Yeah, they pick up the flag.
Yep.
So,
You know,
Or they,
So
that gives everybody a fair shake, I'm sure.
yeah, they lose their voice like the monkeys.
but anyways, we need to get them programmed to make the right calls. And until the NFL puts together stats like teams and players and coaches and all that, we need to see real good stats about referees. That's kind of a hidden secret. So if you really like your product, then let's show us that you're addressing all the aspects of the game.
So some might say maybe over the past couple decades, it's not really truly the same old Lions. It's just the same old refs.
You got that. You got that. It can be
Nailed it.
same old Lions a little bit.
So, what's your crazy play of the game, Dad? Besides bringing in
The crazy play of the game is the referees will be conditioned to when the Lions score a touchdown, they'll lead the charge. Going down the field.
Charging team that will not yield.
You got it. So the referees are going to lead that cheer.
Which one is that? One is it? Yeah, there we go. So that's Dad Steve's crazy play of the game.
You got it.
All right. All right, Brad, you got anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No. You guys have a good night.
Yeah.
Bye, Brad.
Thanks for joining us, Breaking Brad.
Yeah, Breaking Brad.
I did that without drinking a beer.
All right.
Don't worry, Brad's probably had enough for you.
He's got you covered.
Yeah.
All right, Brad. Till next
All right,
time,
see you
bro.
guys.
Yep. See ya.
Yep. Bye.
Good. Okay.
All right, so that is this week's episode of Outside the Den, Inside the Barn. Thank you for joining us, and we'll pick it up next week.
Podcast over.
Thank you, Lions fans.
Signing off
Let's do this.
tonight. Quiet
One
information. Everything's alright. Tonight, Lions Nation, everything's alright.